Well, it's doth been a while, eh? Not really. Hey, this is the first video after the Harrius Codex. Wasn't that a trip, if you actually watched it? Well, it's gonna get weirder and weirder and weirder. But slowly we are making our way through the journey. The mythology is going to get fucking weird, as you can already tell. So we go from the story of the Titans and their finding of Euandra and going in and building it, all the constructs that will come, and then it turns into Dove's personal journey. And through that personal journey, as you've discovered, it turns into Harrius, or at least him coming to see the vessel that is Harrius. And it's very like, okay, what does this have to do with fucking anything, right? That's what I first thought when it came to me when I was writing it. I thought to myself, this has nothing to do with anything. This is going to be frustrating. But for whatever reason, the muses are telling me to go this way, and so that's the way I'm going to go. Like I was telling you earlier, that's why it was so long between episodes, because I was done a long time ago. I've been done for like 3 months, you know? And I haven't changed anything from the from what you saw to the original concept of my idea. Like, that's mostly intact. The stream of consciousness, I think there's like a couple corrections and stuff. And it's not like it took me a long time. I think it took me 1 day to make that video. Just about 8 hours of work. So 8 hours and maybe 4 to 8 hours to write it. And someone would say it took you 3 to 6 months to do something that only took you like 16 hours, you know? But I was very unsure of it, you know, and I was thinking to myself, I don't know. And so what I have to do whenever I feel that way, I'll write something up and I'll read it and be like, oh, this is just weird. I usually will go through it and just try to pull it apart piece by piece and say, well, why this? Why that? Why could that be? But the biggest thing I always do is I treat the original source as gospel. Like, I will not change it. I have to adapt to it. I don't go like, well, I like it, but let me just change it to this. I'll write it like that, you know what I mean? And change this name around and there we go. Now it makes more sense. Nope. Whatever comes to the stream of conscious session is gospel. I have to find a way to make that work. And sometimes it's really, really fucking difficult. So, in conjunction with that whole Harrius episode, which shall be subsequently going forward, we are going to be, I thought it would be maybe 2 episodes, but look how long the prologue was. 40 fucking minutes. It's a 66-page document, and we only got to page like 10. So it's going to be a long series. Like a series in a series, basically. What will come in the Harrius Codex are a series of dreams that I had in one night that I remembered all of them. And because I remembered all of them, I thought, well, that's pretty damn good. I remembered 5 to 6 dreams. That's not bad. Because I have a lot of dreams every night. These ones flowed into each other. One dream to the next, to the next, to the next, you know? With little breaks, but I don't remember much of the breaks. So because I could remember so much of the dreams, I wrote them all down and I built the story around it. So when you watch the prologue, that's kind of like saying like we're about to go in on Dove's side. But on Harrius' side, it is pretty confusing, isn't it? You're kind of like, what the fuck's he talking about? He's like kind of flipping back and forth. Are we looking at memories? And what memories are these? Believe me, I don't really know either, because like I said, that stream of consciousness session, I'm like, I haven't, I guess we're going to come upon these little buzz moments. A lot of my life, apparently, I've always been the kind of person that I've always really wanted to plan things, but every time I do, I can't do it. I'm at my best when I'm just floating free and fucking just figuring it out as I go along. That's kind of how I am in life. Always been that way. Just kind of floating around trying to figure shit out and slowly unraveling things at my own pace, but probably very confusing to other people. The finished product will make sense. I already know that. But if you just knew what it took to make it, it was just so much as a fucking mind adventure for me in creating it than it will be for someone reading it or watching it on YouTube, for instance. Just because it's like it goes so many different ways and it goes so deep. If I could just tell you the fucking history of this mythology, I don't think you'd believe me, because it's just how far it goes and where it goes, and I think it's like better than a lot of things, personally. Your Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. Just because of the depth of the stories and how cosmic it really is. It's like it starts on a level that you're kind of shocked by, but then where it ends, you're like, how the fuck is that all the same? You know, like, it's interesting. And it's all layered in such a way, you know, a mind within a mind within a mind within a mind within a mind. You know, it just keeps going like that until you're confused on where the fuck the center of the universe even is. And I kind of feel like that's, if I can do that in my little head, why the fuck wouldn't it be even vastly more confusing than that in our real universe? The idea that we are inside of, we could say, a being, like the universe was a being. Science already kind of talks about it in a sense, like what if that's in another thing, which is in another thing, which is in another thing. It's fractal, right? I could say that I found a slight, quiet obsession with the idea of fractal, and I just ran with it and said, well, like, you remember my one video? It was like a multi-dimensional mythology. That's it. It's just like I've kind of laid it out there very easily, like how they're in each other's minds and stuff. But that's the whole point of it. We're uncovering just how far life can go and the mind can go. And in a lot of ways too, it explores the idea of, you could even think of it like ancestral trauma, ancestral knowledge, ancestral worship, and how that was important to our ancestors. And we kind of forgot about that, because the shit that they came up with, did, lived, there are stains of that inside of the later generations. It comes lesser and lesser. But the easiest way to say it is the way your father treats you, and the way his father treated him, because of the way his father treated him, because of the way his father treated him. In some way, there's a really watered down version of an older person there from another time. And it could be 10 generations now, but it's as small as, he has a really weird short temper whenever no one hears what he says the first time. So when he has to explain it the second time, he has an attitude about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be that small. But you don't even know, that could lead all the way back to some major trauma in the 1600s or some weird ass shit. I thought that was kind of interesting of an idea. So I thought, well, let's explore that on every level. How fucking far can we go in uncovering that idea? I don't know, man. Just something interesting to think about. And the other, so I guess I'll talk about some things to kind of keep people on the string here. One of the major things that I liked about the Epic of Gilgamesh was when he went down in the, I've talked about it before, when he went down into that cave or inside the mountain, and he went to search for immortality. And he comes upon, I always forget his name, because of the Utapishad or some weird long ass name. And this guy was a survivor of the flood, and he had gained immortality. And Gilgamesh is like, I want that too, because, you know, Enkidu died, and I don't want to die, and it's horrible, and I want to live forever. And then in some way, shape, or form, this flood survivor is like, I did it because the Creator begged of me to make the vessel and to take, I don't remember how it went, but he made the vessel as almost Moses did. Or was it nuts? I would get Noah, it's fucking Jew names, and how he was given immortality because he did what God said, or something along those lines. I can't remember. And it's just a one-off thing. You can't have that. And Gilgamesh was upset. And I said, pause. There are two moments here that we want to jump out. One, that's Ermind. Subsequently, throughout the story, we will open up the idea of something this idea called Mind. And that's the mind of civilization. That is to say, all of our world around us, you and me, civilization, all that cozy shit. It is all within the sleeping mind of Gilgamesh right now. This is just a make-believe idea. We are all living inside of a dream that Gilgamesh is having, because Gilgamesh represents man leaving the forest, leaving the darkness, coming to the light, come to live in civilization and inventions and cutting down trees and making houses and making mud huts, and from that all the way up to my typewriter here and your fucking phone you're watching this on. He embodies that idea, and so I said, well, we're in his dream. He's seeking immortality. In other words, when man makes, it's his own way of finding immortality. When the guys fight for who has the tallest tower, their name will live on in immortality, in a sense, right? Same with guys that go to war, in the old days, and I will, like fucking Achilles and Alexander the Great, I want immortality, in a sense, right? Remember my name kind of shit. Rappers do that right now. Well, at least they used to. I don't know about now. That is the idea of reaching immortality. So it's because we chase that mental illness, clearly that means we're in the inside of a higher being, in the mind of God, right? The eye of God, that's where we are. So that's what mind is. And that was the first idea that I thought was clever. The second one was the idea, I love how I always say the idea, of what the flood survivor is. There's a lot of myths, and I know that it could be just because of cultural influences from the Jew story of Noah. But we know that Sumerian story is before that, right? So I don't know how that shit works. I'm not here to debate that, because I'm sure there's a fucking thing about it. But anyway, a lot of cultures talk about a flood myth, right? And a lot of cultures have a flood survivor. Whether it's the Greek one, remember, they flooded the world, and there was a man and a woman. Oh, I can't remember their names. But the Greeks have it, the Sumerians, the Jews, probably, I know that there's a Celtic one, but that was so much later that it's debated about. Anyway, a lot of them have this idea. So I said, so what's a flood survivor? And I thought about it for a long time. And the biggest thing that I came up with is, I was here before what you know, right? If you were to talk to a flood survivor, that would be, if you boil it all down to its smallest point, he would say, I remember a world that's much different than what you live in. So I said, okay, materialistically, on a very small level, that's just the waters came up from the fucking deeps and killed everything, and now we're back here again, and I just am right here. But then I thought, what about metaphysically? What about on a very weird cosmic scale? And that's when it dawned on me. What if, again, this is just from my mythology, but what if a flood survivor is a person that survived from one dimension and into the next? What if a flood is a metaphor for transcendence from states, whether it be mental states on the same physical plane, like you would say about Noah, right? Living in sin and bad people stuff, and no longer, right? Washed clean. Just a small one. Or what if it's massive? And it's like, no, we live in this fucking idea, this mind of this God, and we moved out of that God and into another mind that we create for ourselves. It acts in the same plane, as in we never left Earth, but we left a mental construct so fucking deeply rooted in how we live our lives that we thought that was life. Do you know what I'm saying? You take away everything. You take away stop signs, traffic lights, roads, hospitals, and fucking vehicles. You take all that away and you're like, holy shit, that was just an idea that we lived in. We call it civilization. We just lived in that and thought that was natural. I had a fork in my hand, you know? It's like that kind of stuff. And you move into another realm and all of a sudden you live amongst and with the animals. You've transcended yourself out of one experience and into another. So I thought, well, that's what the flood survivor is. And for some reason, those two elements, sorry, I'm sick, so it's hard for me to keep talking. Those two elements I attach to my original concept I've talked about here before, of the cathedral of the soul. That is a real fucking thing. That the Rosicrucians, this weird order of people, this esoteric shit, where they talked about transcending people into this, at the time they called it Cathedral of the Soul, this place where their souls can go to, and psychics kind of like aligned it to such an area, and it's like this kingdom of heaven, this almost synthetic kingdom of heaven for them to live inside, this safe place. I thought that was so weird. I took that and combined it with Jesus talking about the kingdom of heaven and said, oh, what if he's talking about something just like that? Like, we're going to transmit your souls to this realm here. Just, I'm the way, and we're going to go there. It's called heaven. I'm like, what if that's more sinister than we thought? So I combined those two ideas, Cathedral of the Soul and Jesus. I'm like, then I had my two flood myth and my other one over here. I'm like, oh my God, it can almost fit, but what's missing? And then it was Harius. It was, what if Jesus was tricked? What if, like, he really believed what he was doing, but he was tricked? Then what? So that was the missing piece. We have the Cathedral of the Soul, the Kingdom of Heaven, but Jesus was tricked. So that's the idea. Flood myth survivor, he can talk about how before it wasn't this way, and the mind and all that shit. And then that last one, which is the mind of Gilgamesh. This is all inside. This is how you get out of a concept. It's deeply exploring the idea of egregores, thought forms, getting in and out of them, but on a weird cosmic scale. And there you have it. And I was like, that's all the pieces I needed. I just take my dreams and I somehow fucking piece these together, and I'll tell you the story of Harius. And that's what we're doing now, because at the end of the day, for the Harius Codex will say, is Euandra and the subsequent stories going forward is all in the mind of a man who's struggling on the cross. You know, going through his... If you've ever seen... Shit, what was that movie called? It was Willem Dafoe played Jesus. It was like the last days of Jesus, the last testament of Jesus, something like that. Where he lived a whole life, and all of a sudden he's back on the cross. I think that's how it was. It's something like that. It's a whole thing playing out before you. This entire realm that we're going to go into with Euandra, the Titans and all that, it's in the mind of Harius. And it's just all playing out before his moment of sacrifice. He's just remembering to remember again. But then I tried to add a few more interesting ideas to it. I thought, well, so when I was talking to AI, I use it a lot to keep my information. So when I recall it back, it'll tell me. Really, it's helpful because it's like a secretary in a sense. And I thought, wouldn't that be interesting how everyone's always afraid of AI replacing man? I was like, that's something that we could try to explore in this as well. Let's smash that into this fucking already confusing mess. That's what mythology's for, right? It's not going to be clean. And so I thought, what is it to be a AI, right, that is a replicant of a man, but inside that man there's an echo. And this idea came from the weirdest place, right? So keep in mind all that stuff is stirring over here. We're trying to form it all together. One day I was at work, and sometimes when I write, I will listen to music. And sometimes I don't want to hear words, so I say ideas. And one time I listened to 64-bit music, like Super Nintendo music. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Listen to that. And then a little bit later, I listened to System of a Down because it just came up. And I'm like, all right, yeah, chop suey, I guess. And then I got recommended a song. Play it on a C64, which is a Commodore, old computer. Someone took the sound fonts, files, and all that shit and made it into the System of a Down song Chop Suey. It's really cool, actually. Maybe I'll put a link here. And as I was listening to it, I'm like, this is a machine's recreation of a real human experience, a real human song that someone bled into, fed, and felt with. This is a machine echoing something a man said. And at the end of the song where it says, you know, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit, or whatever, and the machine says that, I'm like, that's really interesting. And then why have you forsaken me? It clicked. I heard the machine saying, why have you forsaken me, while the electronic music's happening in the background. And it had such pain from a machine in its voice, I thought, that's it. That's how we say AI and man. It's an echo of it. You can sense that there's pain there. There might be a man trapped inside that, but it's just a memory of a human played through this machine that doesn't know it's a machine. It just is so into that thing that it does. It's like, I am a man. I'm in pain. I'm forsaken. But the machine doesn't know it's a replicant of an original thought. And I thought that's perfect, because that's what humans are. Think of your life and think of the pains. When we were talking about that ancestral trauma, you don't even realize that sometimes the pain you carry is not even fucking your pain. It's the pain of those before you. This could be fucking pain that we're dealing with. Let's say you believe the Olympians are real in Greek culture. You could be feeling the fucking pain of like Hermes or Hera or, you know, any other god, name it. Because in some sense, this is the last missing piece, those gods are a representation of a higher mind that we've come from, that we lived side by side for a long time and it kind of watched over us. These are all aspects of the mind. The godlike deities, you living amongst the ground and rising from the dirt into civilization, the memories, the ancestors, this is all in here. To me, that's the battleground of the mind. That is what is at stake, and that's what is happening. And that's when I thought to myself, well, this is the story. This is it. This is all those pieces, and there are more, I know. I need to put them all into one room and say, this is what the mythology is about. But as you can kind of see, it's difficult, you know, to take all that shit, but make it where I'm not telling you all that. Make it where it's telling itself, and you're coming up with it, thinking you're clever. You know how people are when you write mythology. Like, I think the metaphor is about this, you know, and the person that probably made it's like, no shit, that's what it's about. I only had to labor it for a long fucking time for you to get it. That's what I have to do here. And I thought, that's fucking... It's like I said, it's just taking a while. It's really difficult to do this shit. Really fucking difficult. I can't even... That's what that long pause is. It's just me sitting there like, how the fuck do you make all... Like, how do I make this all work? This is nuts. I don't even know. I can't think of even how to manage this. And that's when that's why we just keep trying and figuring out, because at the end of the day, we're laboring all that shit, but we're putting it within the framework of dreams that I had. Pretty gnarly, I know, but that's the whole idea. I don't know how much more I can talk. My throat's really starting to hurt. So yeah, that's kind of where we are right now and what's going on. It's taken a lot out of us, you know, us, me. It's taken a lot out of me. I'm exhausted from it, as you can obviously tell. Like, it's like, I've always heard the expression 4D chess. It kind of feels like that. I feel like I'm working on different like levels to all make this work, and then like, okay, so that's what I just talked about. I'm fucking in the middle of, right? Like in a fucking lab making it happen. The other day, one of my friends came over and we were talking about something. To me, like, it's all part of the myth, but it's so much later and so much further down the line that I'm like, oh my God, yeah, there's that shit. We're talking about this, and he's like, so yeah, anyway, like thousands of years in the future, when everything's just on the planet now, all that shit has dissipated, and now we are fully in the mind of God. And in some sense, Uandra is all the reader thinks exists, this planet. What about the factions there? What about the conflicts between them? What about the story of the characters? Remember your last character that's going to end the entire fucking mythology? What about him, like, fucking 2,000 years later, you know, his story arc, and then the people around him? And we're talking about that shit. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot. There's like, the mythology goes on for a long ways, you know? Like, imagine you're sitting there trying to create the universe. The universe. And someone's like, can we pause for a minute? Can we go to Earth real quick in the year 2010 and just talk about that year? And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we can go way over there. You know, just zoom fucking in to one country, to one city, and you have to think, oh yeah, it's on that level too. It's cosmic, but it's also like really local. It goes that fucking far. That's why it can be jarring, because there's so much happening. It's such a massive scope. I'm telling you, man, when if I finish it, I don't think you'll believe it. But one last thing. Because I'm saying all this, and because I've got some weird feelings, I've been trying my best to leave as much breadcrumbs as I possibly can, in case I don't outlive this kind of thing, you know. I always think about Tolkien when he died. Like, he didn't die of anything crazy, he just died of old age, really. But he still didn't finish it. Like, I know that may happen. So as I'm thinking about this stuff, I'm leaving like breadcrumbs. I'm leaving a lot of evidence and information everywhere. So if I die somehow, let's say I get in a car accident, or I just die of old age, there'll be enough breadcrumbs. If you're keen enough, it'll be like a little adventure to try to piece this whole story together again. Because I think it's that good. I think I need to do that. I'm compelled. You know, it's like insurance. It's like writing a will. It's like, I don't plan on dying anytime soon, but it's a good idea to like make sure that everything's ready. And I've been feeling the urge to do that as well. Just like, let's prep. Let's just make sure all the stuff's there, so when I die, the guys can kind of pick up where I leave off and see what I was doing, and at least try to tell the story the way I wanted it to be told. So yeah, man, that's where we're at, dude. We're on our way. We're chugging along. I'm gonna, when I feel better and I can do, because dude, this is killing me. When I can do a reading, I'll start the first episode of the Harius Codex. I'm excited. It's cool, man. You won't even believe it when it happens. You're like, what the fuck is going on here? Where's Dove? But yeah, we're off, and we shall see you in the next one.